What's up, guys? Welcome to Newswave. Now, before we get started today, I want to talk real quick about Spawncast. It's happening Saturday night. Make sure you check it out because we're going to have Super Metal Dave 64 on there. It'll be live starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, and if you are signed up for our Patreon page, you will get full access to the raw video file that is posted the next day. Of course, audio and everything is posted on iTunes and everything as well, and then video clips of that podcast is also posted throughout the week. And with that, guys, let's get started. So real quick, I want to touch on a topic we talked about yesterday with Phantom Dust going to the Xbox One. After the video came out from Polygon, a lot of people had, well, a ton of questions, actually, and there was actually a developer who decided to kind of come to light here and talk about some of the questions that a lot of people had. This is over on NeoGAF, and some of the questions included things like why it's not 60 frames per second, which originally a lot of people thought it was. It's not 60 frames according to this person because a lot of the in-game events, everything is hard-coded for 30 frames, so they're keeping it to that setting. However, there are frame dips, as they talk about, where it does go down to 24, 25 frames per second, somewhere in there. Now, they do talk about, of course, how there were frame dips on the original Xbox, which I can attest to. Yes, there were. It did get kind of choppy sometimes, depending on what was going on, but it's not going to be that bad. I think dropping down from 30 to 26, 25 isn't going to kill the game. It's odd, though, to see an original Xbox game struggle like that on something like the Xbox One. They're also using the original assets, mostly from what they've said is because they don't have access to the source codes. They have to kind of reverse engineer some of it, according to this person. They wanted to keep it as true to form for the original game, and I can appreciate that. I'm really fine with that as long as the original game is mostly intact. The other question with why wasn't the date of when it's being released or price announced, this seemed more like they weren't sure either, and they kind of danced around it a little bit. They did say, though, it will be priced accordingly, so the fact that it's a re-release will probably have some merit on the price. I'm hoping it's 20 or less. 15 to 20 is fine by me. And this is the odd one. There will be microtransactions. Yes, there's going to be microtransactions in this game for Phantom Dust. They do say, though, it's all optional. Basically, what's going to happen here is you gain abilities as you play through the game in multiplayer, and you build what is essentially called a deck of abilities that you use in the game, which is like a battle arena type game. You can use actual money, according to this developer, to do things like get more cards faster. I call them cards abilities. Get more abilities faster rather than kind of grind your way through the game. So it will be to that extent. It's not needed. It's optional. Okay, sure. Either way, all you need to take away from this is it looks very similar, almost exactly, to the original Xbox version. If you're a fan of that, or you've always been curious about it, might be up your alley. Just, don't expect something crazy like 4K, the best graphics ever look or anything. Expect an original Xbox game that is playable on the Xbox One with some minor updated visuals with anti-aliasing, stuff like that. And if you're a fan of the Zombies mode in Black Ops 3 for Call of Duty, you're in luck because it looks like they're going to be remastering some of the older maps that are not currently available, putting them out, and it's going to be called Zombies Chronicles. This was revealed in a YouTube video yesterday, and from there they said it's going to be 8 maps total. They're going to have things like Moon and Ascension, for example, added in. It's not due out till May 16th. It's going to be on the PS4 first, of course, because the PS4 and Sony have this big deal with Call of Duty and Activision where they always get it first, and they're going to do a full live stream May 8th just to kind of show it off. So if you're a fan of zombies, you might want to check it out. It looks pretty good because it's going to pull stuff, I assume, from Black Ops 2, for example, bring them up, and there you go. You can play all the older ones, I should say, on newer hardware with the PS4. While we're on the topic of Call of Duty, let's stick with this whole Call of Duty thing real quick. Now, there's been a lot of reports going around, and it does look to be completely true, that if you're on YouTube and you are trying to run a YouTube channel that is kind of centered around Call of Duty WW2, YouTube does not like that, and apparently ads will not play, and anyone who is trying to run a full channel that kind of shows off, even probably as far as how to play the game when it comes out, and tips and tricks, and even like gameplay in general, it's all being demonetized, mostly because YouTube does not like ads that, of course, would run on things like, in this case, World War II, because it had to deal with Nazis and all kinds of controversial stuff. So right now, YouTube's their big solution to this, very basic, is to just demonetize all videos that could have anything to do really with anything controversial. Now, I do think YouTube will work through this eventually, but right now it does look to be affecting anyone who wants to do anything Call of Duty WW2 because it has to do, of course, with World War II. From what I could tell, if they find it like the title or like the tags, they will go through and just demonetize that video completely, and it will affect, of course, anyone who you are a fan of who does Call of Duty stuff. They might start staying away from Call of Duty World War II, at least for now, until YouTube gets it worked out. Now, like I said, Google and YouTube, they are, of course, working as hard as they can to get this whole ad thing figured out, and it's going to be a little while. They've kind of worked it out to a point to where the ads are at least getting back to normal in terms of payouts and rates and everything, but there are still massive amounts of problems with demonetization with what really shouldn't be demonetized because it's completely ad-friendly. I mean, if you look on TV, stuff on TV is worse than what's on YouTube getting demonetized, so it's tough right now. They'll get it worked out. I do have confidence that YouTube will get it figured out. It's just going to take some time, and honestly, at that point, some of the guys who are doing Call of Duty 2 World War II promos and work on it and news even, they're going to have a tough time, at least for the next couple months. And as most of us know, yesterday was May the 4th, or better known as Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And, of course, Steam gets in on the action and puts a ton, I mean, probably every Star Wars game, actually, on sale. And there are some pretty good deals to be had here. Now, from what I can tell, you can get the entire, like, Star Wars collection pretty much for, like, $60. But if you're just looking for a few, I can give you a couple recommendations. Something like Jedi Knight 2 was a really big deal, or just, I guess, Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight was a really big deal at the time. The visuals aren't the best, obviously, but it really kind of set in motion what was like the Jedi Outcast series and then Jedi Academy, and it's like $1 something, so it's not bad. Also, look into, if you're more into shooters like Call of Duty or Rainbow Six, take a look at Republic Commando, because I feel like that one kind of got pushed to the side, and it's a very good game. I played it on the original Xbox, and then I bought it on Steam when it was available, but Republic Commando and Jedi Knight would be my big recommendations right now with the sales going on. We also got a look at when Sony's time is for E3, when they're going to have their big presentation, and it looks like it's pretty much the same time as usual. This will be Monday night, June 12th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. on my side. Again, guys, E3, a lot of people are asking me what my schedule is for this. I will be streaming pretty much probably around the clock, to be honest, because I'm going to be streaming, I know I'm streaming the big three, the Direct, Microsoft, and then, of course, Sony. Microsoft will be first up, more than likely, unless Nintendo tries to jump out in front with a Direct. I don't think they will. I think they will probably, Nintendo will probably be somewhere in the middle of the week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and, of course, Sony likes being Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Why not? I'm expecting a lot from Sony. I really want to see Spider-Man because that game looks awesome. And then God of War should be there as well, but I'm really interested in Spider-Man and probably Death Stranding. That would be interesting to see also. So don't sleep on Days Gone. And then, of course, I think we all know we're going to see more of Last of Us 2, which I'm sure will be great. And the big news of the day, guys, is really cool. This is neat because it kind of makes you think back on how gaming has evolved over time, some fond memories. We had 4 games get entered into the Hall of Fame for video games, and it includes Donkey Kong, Pokemon Red and Green, not blue, green, Halo Combat Evolved, and then Street Fighter 2. And this will be the 3rd class of the World Video Game Hall of Fame. Again, they have 4 inductees. These are the finalists that beat out games even like Final Fantasy VII, for example. So obviously high praise here for these 4 games. And they kind of talked about why each game is where it is right now, right in that finals, going in at this point. It's going to be inducted in. We have stuff like Halo Combat Evolved, which I can talk about personally as being a game that really pulled the consoles into the competitive first-person shooters. Of course, at that time, or even before then, it was mostly PC. I'd play games like Rainbow Six, some of the original ones, on PC competitively, and it wasn't until really Halo came around that got more of the mainstream into doing competitive shooters, and it was really cool at the time. The multiplayer was great, and really it did some really cool stuff that brought mainstreamers in to first-person shooters at the time. Melee was really cool in that game. It was the story was fun, which obviously went on to spawn whole lines of action figures, books, everything. So yes, that makes a lot of sense to be there from a first-person shooter perspective. I don't think much has to be said about Pokemon Red and Green. Of course, Green was the original one. Blue was made when it was brought over to the West. They fixed a lot of bugs and things like that when they brought it over, renamed it Blue, put it out as Red and Blue. Green and Red, those, obviously, anything Pokemon at this point makes sense. Really, that should, when most people look at games for being in, say, a Hall of Fame, usually you're going to look at something like Mario, Tetris. At this point, Pokemon, right? Pokemon has to be there. It has spawned such a massive, and I mean just a massive following. I mean, it's so big now that you really have to look back on the originals and say, yeah, they're Hall of Fame worthy at this point. I mean, you have things like 17 movies, 800 episodes on TV for Pokemon. Crazy amounts, obviously, of cards, merchandise, games are flying off the shelves. Big phenomenon. Makes sense to be in the Hall of Fame. Street Fighter 2 really helped define the 1v1 fighting game, I think, again, to the mainstream, because that's where it's really important. And of course, it's still a classic today. I mean, we're getting a game on the Switch later on this month that is heavily based on Street Fighter 2 in 2017. So it's pretty obvious that something that was released back in the early 90s being relevant today should be in the Hall of Fame as well. People still go back and play it all the time, so yeah, it deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And leading the class of this Hall of Fame group is Donkey Kong, and rightfully so, I think, obviously, since it, one, helped launch the career of someone you guys might have heard of. I don't know, have you guys heard of this guy? I feel like his name, I feel like we hear about him all the time, right? Shigeru Miyamoto, have you guys heard of him? Yeah, it really helped kind of jettison his career and get it moving, get it launched. We had people like Mario, also known as Jumpman at the time, being introduced along with Donkey Kong. It really was popular in the arcades. 132,000 cabinets, and it's just a massive game. People still come into the stores that I would work at now, and the one thing they'd ask for is an NES and Donkey Kong, because that's what they remember. It was a fun game in the arcade, and really, at this point, it's a game that most of us remember as being that awesome game that really set gaming off back in the arcades. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about today, whether it is that really cool class, Hall of Fame right there that you guys saw, the class of 2017, I guess, at this point. Those 4 games. Let me know what you think about those, or maybe they missed one and you'd rather have a different one get in. Maybe you're excited for the new Call of Duty Zombies maps coming out for Black Ops 3. I know a lot of people still play Black Ops 3 because Infinite Warfare did not do it for them, and I understand that completely. Also, let me think at this point of Phantom Dust, because it's coming. I will get it. It looks like what I remember 2004. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'll probably get it on the computer just because the system requirements weren't bad with something like a GTX 650. So it'll be maxed easily on my computer. I probably wouldn't get any frames drops then either. That's it for now, guys. Make sure you come on by Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time, while we have our Spawncast going on live. Again, it'll start then. We have you guys a couple minutes to get in the room, but it'll start right around 9 o'clock Eastern. We'll have Super Metal Dave 64 over, and we'll talk about the events of the week, video game news, and some different things. He already has some stuff he wants to talk about, and I have some stuff we should talk about as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Come on by and see us, guys. I will see you next time.